All right, so I have been having a conversation, a dialogue with a YouTube person who's been commenting on one of my videos, and I told him I was going to do a video about this evidence or this the facts that this video that he sent me to talk about why creationists and why evolution is false. Okay, I've seen this video like 4 or 5 times. Apparently this is the only video creationists are able to find, and if he's watching it right now, he probably thinks I'm doing the video for him. I'm not doing the video for you. I'm doing the video because I just want to, the next 20 creationists who tell me the same stupid arguments, I don't have to bother explaining it to them. I can just tell them to watch this video. So let me, so this video, I'll take care of it in a minute. I'm going to break up the segments, but let me start off. I might even I'm just going to actually do a segment of the actual video. The whole thing is like an hour long of crap, but I'm going to break it down part by part. But let me start off with just a couple of arguments that I don't want to hear anymore. They're nonsense, okay? And you know, this person writes stuff to me. I send him 7 different, you know, examples, and he picks one that he kind of thinks is weak and just ignores everything else I say, which is pretty much how people go through the Bible and go through their religious things. It's like, well, I like this and I don't like that, so I'll just ignore that happened, and I'll just look at this part. So anyway. So let's talk about a couple of things that I don't want to hear about anymore. Please figure out what a theory is. I have freaking 5 videos on this, and you can see it all over the internet. A theory in science is not something, a guess. It's not a, you know, this is what we kind of sort of think, okay? There's something called a proof, there's something called evidence, there's something called a law, and then there's a theory, okay? So let's talk about a proof. You cannot prove anything other than in math, okay? You can make a proof in math, or logical proofs, okay? A equals A, okay? So that's a proof, okay? Because A can't be anything else but A. That's all there is to it. 2 plus 2 equals 4. And the only reason that's true in mathematics is because we have defined what the meaning of the word 2 is, and we've defined what the meaning of plus means, and we've defined what the meaning of equals is, and there is and that's what it means, okay? There's no other explanation, there's nothing else out there that can give us different evidence of what 2 is, because we ascribed what 2 is. We said when you have items, that's 2, okay? 2 of them. So the point is, so proofs only happen in math, okay, and in logic. You can't have proofs of the natural world because we never know. We are always getting evidence. There's always more evidence that can be gathered. That is why in science, because we are not locked into our dogma like religions are, that there has to be a God, there has to be this, there has to be this, and we have to do all whatever mental gymnastics we have to do to fit evidence to fit to what we want already. That's not how you go about doing things. It's not how you come up with an answer or what is truth. You can come up with your answer that way, but it's not true. All right, so you can't start with the answer and then work back and try to put evidence into that. All right, so a law, just so everyone understands what a law is, okay, in science. A law is something that describes it describes what happens. It's a description, okay? Here, see? That pen fell. You know why it fell? Because of the law of gravity, okay? But the theory of gravity explains the laws, okay? Why this happens is because of the fact of the theory of gravity, okay? And you go to physics and they'll tell you the theory of gravity, and that's how it goes. Now, we call it a theory, not a proof of gravity, because there might be a time when I drop this thing and it just floats away, okay? So we are always gathering more evidence, okay? Here's more evidence, okay? Gravity, more evidence of gravity, more evidence of gravity. Look how it goes. So therefore, gravity, all right? Well, it's the same thing with evolution, except with the theory of evolution, We have cellular biology, we have molecular biology, we have etymology, we have anatomy, we have comparative anatomy, we have the fossil record, we have all these different forms and different things, DNA sequencing, we have all these different branches of science, and every single one, so like, matches up with each other, okay? So I can make an evolutionary tree of of the DNA of mollusks, okay? And then I can go and I can say, okay, so this mollusk and this mollusk, this would happen, and this would happen, and this would happen, and I can make a tree. Like, this would come from this because of the way the DNA is. It makes logical jumps from here to here and here to here, and you can make a DNA tree of all the animals and every single species on Earth using DNA. Then you could go over to the fossil record, and when you look for the fossils, they line up in the exact same way as the DNA thing goes, right? And then you can look at their anatomy and say, okay, well, this is where this bone will go, or this is where this organ would go as this changed, and you can make a whole tree based upon anatomy. Like, here's how the morphing went on, and that would match up with the fossil record, would match up with the DNA sequencing. It's all the same. Every single branch of science confirms evolution, which is why evolution has so much, it's the strongest theory we have. Because there's every single branch of science. There was no DNA back in Darwin's time. But then when we applied DNA, when we found out what DNA was, and we applied it to the trees of life that we already had, it still matched up. Every branch of science that we come up with matches up with the same freaking evolutionary tree. That is why evolution is the strongest theory we have. Now, if you want to say, well, it's just a theory, okay, well, yes, because it is possible that we find a poodle, in the Preozoic era, okay? But when we do a fossil dig, but we don't, okay? It's possible that we might find an organism that doesn't match up in the evolutionary tree. Just like it's possible for this to float. But it doesn't, okay? So therefore, if it did, then we would find out either there's something wrong with the gravitational theory. We'd have to look at it. Like, if I drop this and all of a sudden it started floating in front of the camera, well, actually, they wouldn't get rid of gravitational theory. They would say, well, wait a second, maybe it's a camera, maybe it's a camera trick, maybe it's something else, because every single observation we've had at that point confirms this theory, okay? And so it's the same thing with evolution. So please, theory in science is not, let's just take a guess. I have a theory. Evolution. Okay, like that's not what a scientific theory is. That's what I have a theory. My friend is at home. That's a colloquial theory. All right, so now we got those out of the way. Let's talk about disproving stuff. I know I have these videos already, but I want to try to condense them all into one video. Disproving things. Well, you can't disprove God, so therefore, where am I God? Yes, that's what we call things theories, okay? Can't disprove anything. I can't disprove something. I can't disprove God, because how would I find evidence of something that doesn't exist? Okay, like, well, give me the evidence as to why God doesn't exist, or why you're saying God doesn't exist. Do you want me to give you evidence of something that doesn't exist? Why would there be evidence? If there was evidence of it, then it would exist. That's what evidence means. It shows the trail of something existing. So how could I possibly give you evidence of something that doesn't exist? All right, you cannot disprove things. I can't disprove God because first of all, you have to give me a definition of God, which most people don't. Okay. What it is I would actually be looking for, okay? And the second thing is you can't disprove anything. Anytime you have an argument, and I could just take your word God out and put the word fairy in, and it would make your argument is exactly the same, whether I said fairy, God, the Jabberwocky, whatever, okay? It's all the same crap. So if you can just subtract God out, and well, why is this, right? By the way, leading me to the argument of ignorance, all right? Well, even if we didn't have anything, and this is in my Steve Harvey video, if we didn't have science, we didn't have DNA, and we didn't have this, and we didn't have that, if you got rid of everything, if you disproved evolution today, if you went on a fossil dig and found a freaking aardvark, okay, with dinosaurs, okay, where they wouldn't be, and you disproved evolution, it was real, and it was like, oh my God, evolutionary theory is wrong, okay, it still wouldn't mean that God done it. Okay, that doesn't prove. You have to explain how that got there based upon your God theory. You can't just say Magic Man did it. Okay, it all happened by magic. That is not a way to explain. You have to say, here's what happened, and here's why it happened, not just, I don't understand it, and I'm going to poke holes in your explanation, so therefore that means God did it. No, that doesn't. Your God is not a default position, okay? Magic is never the default position, all right? So just because you can't explain something doesn't mean you can just insert whatever asinine belief you want, okay? You have to give a reason as to why you believe that. And if your reason is, well, that's just the way it is, then that is not a good reason. Okay, so anyway, so let's get to the video, okay? So I'm gonna let you watch the video. I'm gonna insert some clips, and you can see how evolution has been destroyed by this stupid nonsense. All right, bye.